So we are studying from here. Anybody likes to read? Maitreya said from there.
Can I read, Mataji?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Maitreya said, from his head the heavenly planets or Sargaloka were created. From his legs the earthly planets or Bhuloka appeared, and from his abdomen came Bhuloka, the planets which rest in the sky in between the heavens and earth. Within each planetary system, the respective residents were placed according to their modes of nature. Maitreya described the factors that determine whether living beings are sent. Where living beings are sent. Those souls who prior to the last annihilation had predominantly cultivated the mode of goodness take birth as godly celestials in the higher planetary systems. Those who had nurtured the mode of passion take birth on the earthly planets as humans, and those who had fostered the mode of ignorance take birth in animal species. However, those living beings in the mode of ignorance who had worshipped Shiva take birth in Bhugarbha Loka. Maitri then explained how the different social orders of human society evolved from the Virat Rupa.
Okay, let's pause here.
Hare Krishna.
See, mode of goodness gives us godly existence, and mode of passion, that's where we are. We become humans. But of course, humans doesn't mean only full pure mode of passion. It's all a mixture. And then ignorance. Ignorance, I'm thinking of all the ghosts and goblins. Krishna gives opportunity even to them. See, so much mercy. Nobody is disincluded. Nobody. How dare we ever think we are not good enough, we don't belong, we're not loved. Anytime those kind of thoughts come to our head, we should remember that, come on, Krishna is such an amazing divine father that he gives an opportunity to everybody, even the ghosts, to come back and go back into the process of progress and evolution of our existence. That's the Lord we worship. So there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to get bogged down. But yes, this good mode of goodness does give us qualities that help us progress faster. And those qualities in the mode of passion, it does kind of keep us bound, keep doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. So it's not only about the birth itself, the modes of nature here, it's not only about the birth, but it's also about the mentality that we have. Even among humans, there are some people who are really in ignorance. There are some people who are really totally in passion. No tinge of goodness like that. And there are people who are more sattvic. But because we are in this material world, regardless of how much sattva guna we have or how much rajoguna we have, we still have to go through birth, death, old age, disease, and a lot of other sufferings. Any realizations at this point about this modes and how Krishna determines where the living entities are born based on the modes?
I have a question, Mataji. Like we've been discussing like how it's not like sattva is not our goal. Our goal is to have intentions which are pleasing to Krishna, right? So this is what you've been teaching, and it's like so beautiful. And here we are seeing those who are in mode of goodness, they're like elevated, and those who are in mode of ignorance, they're like they're taking birth in that the Bhuvar Loka, right? So I was just thinking, so Sattvagun is like it's when the placement really happens, those in Sattva get a chance to go up, right? But the whole idea is not like my desire is like, oh, I want to take birth among the celestial beings. That's not the idea. The question is more about like when modes sattva is not our goal, why is the result based on sattva? Why are the results based on if you're in sattva, then we'll put you up there. So so is it because this is just for people who are non-devotees? For devotees, the whole realm of how the placement will happen is different, and this is for those who are not devotees. For them, it's based on their modes. Is that the right understanding?
Mm, not necessarily that, oh, for devotees it's a different rule, and for non-devotees it's a different rule. But as you can see here, Krishna is not saying, oh, those in Sattva-guna will come to me. He's not saying that. Whereas in Gita and several other Bhagavatam sections, the point does come about going back to Godhead, right? Here, the mention is not about, oh, if they're predominantly cultivated, if they worked on the mode of goodness, they'll come back to me definitely. He's not saying that. He's not saying that at all. I mean, it's not saying that here at all. But whereas Krishna does say that those who think of me, those who offer things to me, those who are absorbed in my worship, they will definitely come to me. So he's, yes, Sattva Rajastamas is important to understand. Yes, the motivation, if our motivation is Sattva and our action is passion, then we still we'll progress a lot. And the other way around too, our actions might be very much sattvic. I mean, act very, very sattvic so that people will like me, so that people will adore me, people will respect me. So, I mean, my actions, this is kind of like demigods and heavenly planets, they're also going to die. All their enjoyment, all the celestial experiences, they're all going to die. So, see, Krishna consciousness is not black and white. There's so many shades of colors. Understanding what does it mean heavenly planets, what does it mean higher birth, that needs to be understood in the context of Srimad Bhagavatam. You are right to say that, oh, is it a different rule for karma? It's not different rule. The laws of nature is laws of nature. At the same time, Krishna doesn't do partiality there. At the same time, Srimad Bhagavatam is not for ordinary people. Paramo nirmatsaranam satam. This is for people who are completely free from envy. And this is for people who understand something beyond being Rakshasa or demigod. Prahlad Maharaj was born in the Rakshasa family. With Vritrasura as a Rakshasa. Kunti Devi is the woman. So there is a lot of social Vedic orders which are topsy-turvy in Srimad Bhagavatam. To understand Bhagavatam, we need to be beyond the modes. So as much as some Sattvaguna is necessary, especially the intention, Sattvaguna intention is necessary for us to find peace, but as Krishna says, without peace, how can there be happiness? Like that. So it's not like either or. It's not, oh, Sattva Guna is not our goal, so I don't care about it. Whatever, let me go to hell, and then I'll do preaching there. We're not in that mentality. It's not our mood. At the same time, to understand that Srimad Bhagavatam is filled with principles which are beyond the modes, and oh God, Bhagavatam, the extension Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Leela. Let's take Chaitanya Leela. Until Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, this principle could be argued. This could be a point of argument between scholars, even saying how important is Sattva Guna, how Sattva Guna is what actually brings you mercy, how Sattva Guna is what will elevate you to spiritual world, etc., etc. But then until Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, and then of course Nityananda comes and delivers Jagai and Madhai. What a causeless mercy. Jagai and Madhai were like personifications of Tamas and Rajas. And so what are we going to say about that, right? They delivered. So in every other incarnation, Krishna kills the demons, right? Krishna kills Kamsa, Krishna kills Shishupala and Dantavakra, and like every demon that comes in obstructs the pastimes and how do you call it, expresses or exemplifies the mode of ignorance and mode of passion are killed, destroyed. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are unique. They are saved. They're saved. They are rescued, and they are placed in the highest possible path of bhakti. So the point is this: we, in order to progress in spiritual life, in order to progress in Krishna consciousness, it's not a requirement to have sattva guna. It doesn't matter if you're in sattva or rajas or tamas, whether you're depressed, you can take shelter of Krishna. You're full of ambitions and material desires, akama, sarva kama, va moksha kamodaradi, no problem, go to Krishna. He will help you in your passionate plans. Oh, you're feeling really sattvic, you like to do puja, you like to learn shlokas, okay, no problem. But what matters is bhakti, okay, for Krishna consciousness. At the same time, when we are performing sadhana, when we are performing devotional service, we do take into consideration that some amount of discipline, some amount of sacrifice, some amount of awareness, some amount of introspection, these things can make our progress more harmonious, more peaceful. Krishna can handle us without sattva. Wow, what a great Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda can handle us, our sins, our tamas, our ignorance. I often remember about tamas and ignorance whenever I think of my tamas, that in Mayapur Dham, it's so merciful that even sleeping in Mayapur Dham, Chaitanya considers it as Dandavat Seva. It's like, wow, which other place can give shelter to tamasic people? Like Lord Chaitanya is so merciful, such Audarya Dham, that by lying down in this dham, just like sleeping, going to sleep, Mahaprabhu says, okay, this person is performing Dandavat Seva. So, oh Govinda, oh Gauranga. So the Krishna consciousness is so much about that love for Krishna, and it doesn't depend on the modes necessarily. But like I said, it doesn't mean, my Guru Maharaj often says, in Mayapur Dham, whatever you do is multiplied by 1,000 times. And he says, if you do nothing, you'll get nothing multiplied by 0, so you get nothing. So do devotional service, not just lying down and sleeping all day. Doesn't necessarily, I mean, is not the way to progress like that. So sattva guna, discipline, or doing sadhana bhakti is important, but we must endeavor, definitely Krishna does encourage us to work in sattva. At the same time, we cannot judge people who are not in sattva as not progressing, and we cannot judge ourselves as, oh, I have not been sattvic, so I'm doomed. Or those of us who may be struggling immensely, intensely because of lifetimes of conditioning, of cultivating rajas and tamas, we are unable to access sattva because it's not easy. Sattva is not obviously easy. So we may be struggling, but that doesn't mean we are hopeless. And Krishna's mercy the requirement for Krishna's mercy is not sattva. The requirement for Krishna's mercy is bhakti. And bhakti is beyond everything, birth and circumstances. And one more example I remember is Kunti, right? As much as here or in many places, higher birth, celestial birth is glorified, etc. But Krishna, Kunti does say how Janmaishwarya Shruta Shribe, so having high birth, which can include heavenly birth, beauty, and all those things she mentions, the heavenly beings have it. And oh boy, can that stop us from surrendering to Krishna? Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah, this has been my realization recently also, that more disappointment, the more pain, more intense our devotion can become. I'm not saying it will. It's not like it will, but it can become. if we can understand this principle that I don't need to come to sattva in order to worship Krishna. I don't need to wait for sattva. Because I personally am not a person, I'm not predominated by sattva. I'm mostly predominated by rajas and tamas. So, but that doesn't mean that I have to wait to develop sattvic qualities to perform devotional service. I can perform devotional service wherever I am, but with that sole intention, Krishna, I'm so filled with all this, but please accept me, please take me, please ತಪ್ಪುಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಪರಿಹರಿಸುವ ನಮ್ಮಪ್ಪನಲ್ಲವೇ ನೀನು ತಿಮ್ಮಪ್ಪ ಸಲಹೋ ನೀನು. So this song is speaking about Krishna. I'm filled with faults, I'm filled with mistakes, and in that whole song all the mistakes the Acharya quotes like that. I'm not remembering you, Krishna. I'm always thinking of satisfying my senses. So, oh my God, is that tamas? It's very, very rajasic and tamasic, and it's foolish, right? To be in that consciousness. Yet we go to Krishna and say, Krishna, I'm so filled with tamas and rajas, and I'm so engaged in foolish activities, Krishna. But I don't know, I'm not deserving you, but I still want you. Still want your will for me. I want to be yours, but I'm really struggling in this pool of passion and ignorance. So pick me up. So that is that brings us mercy. That brings us progress, and it may not be necessary that somebody who's very sattvic and doing all their pujas in time and all austerities and performance of yagyas and yagas and sense control might sit there and think, Krishna, I'm doing so much for you. Please come on, come here, give me mercy. Krishna, I've waited so many years. I've done everything perfectly. I've not missed a single Mangalarti. I haven't missed a single day of chanting my rounds. So now is your time. Please come respond. Okay, okay. That's not that kind of sattva is useless. it's it's not only detrimental, but it's just completely useless. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that is so beautiful. Just like the more you were saying, the more I was admiring the quality of bhakti. Like how bhakti can just, it just takes us beyond everything which is so material. That is what I was understanding from your explanation. I was also recalling like how, when you were talking about this thought came, I mean, this explanation of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, you're saying like that, um, I think he was right. He's written. He's 1 second, wait, please. He's explaining how no, he's writing something to Srila Prabhupada. It's just like a letter, and then Prabhupada is not there. But this is like one of his realizations. He's like, "Oh Prabhupada, all these services, whatever I have done, it can only take me up to the heavens, for all the things that I've done. Unfortunately, I did not develop enough bhakti to transcend beyond the heavens." So I'm just going to become a prisoner in the heavenly realms like that. I mean, out of humility is explaining. So I was, from what you're saying, from what he has also written, I was just understanding like unless this strong, intense, pure bhakti is there, it's not possible to come out of any of these realms, right? So this is what I
Any
was
of this?
thinking. Any of these realms, like be it like what do you say, different realms, right? Like the earthly realm, the Bhualoka, the Swargaloka, the Bhuloka, all these realms, it's all characterized only based on those modes. But then it's only bhakti which can take us beyond the pure bhakti. Unless we are aiming for that, we are just going to be captured here as prisoners.
True. True. All these celestial worlds, they're also in the material world, right? I mean, they're not spiritual worlds. But to enter spiritual worlds, sattva is not enough. To go beyond the modes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing to
And how great is bhakti? I was also feeling like that, like so much of gratitude, right? What else
gratitude.
can do us? I mean, it's without bhakti, what else? My God, there's nothing else. Like that, I was seeing, feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
My son is whispering so much in my ears, and then he wants me to tell you that he likes you very much. And he's like, please tell her, please tell her. I'm like, wait, wait.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you, Gaura. I like you too. And I love your name, Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari. My heart starts singing.
So
Thank
cute.
you, Gaura.
Like, please tell her, please tell her, please tell her.
Thank you. I'd love to meet you someday soon before you become a big boy.
Yeah,
Taruni,
sure.
would you like to continue reading
Everyone
a
loves
little bit?
Shri. Everyone loves Shri.
Aw,
You won't believe
my
for
only
so
hope.
long. For so long, he's been whispering. I'm not able to. Then I'm like, please tell her, please tell her.
So
So
sweet. I'm blessed.
nice.
My only hope is the shelter of Vaishnavas. So today Gaura Hari has given me that shelter.
Oh, come on, Mataji, we need your shelter.
Yes.
And he's
And
not even looking at me. He's only listening to some random stuff that I'm expressing.
No, he's been watching you, right? Seeing you, interacting with you, and all that. So I think that's how he is. Yeah, that's how you made an impression on him. Sweet
He made
impression.
an impression on me.
Okay.
That's all. Would you like to continue, Taruni?
Yeah, Mataji. Oh, best of the Kurus. After the Vedas appeared, I'm not able to see one second. Go to one second. Oh, best of the Kurus. After the Vedas appeared from his mouth, so did the Brahmins, because they are inclined to study and teach Vedic knowledge. They are the spiritual masters of all other sections of human society. The power
I
of
want to pause
production.
here. Sorry, I want to pause here.
Mhm.
See, the Vedas appeared from his mouth, and so did the Brahmins, right? So Brahmins are admired, worshipped. So yes, definitely they are superior because they are studying Vedic knowledge. At the same time, we also come from Krishna. Okay, we may not come from his mouth directly. I mean, we meaning I'm saying everybody, all the human beings, all the living entities. We all come from Krishna, and unlike us, that our head is better than our feet because of some reasons, still head and feet both are important. And what to speak of belonging to Krishna? Mamaivamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. That is like, wow, we belong to Krishna. Even if I'm andaya thande rupaniyamanas, even if I am rotting in the hellish planets, even if I'm suffering from addictions, even if I am engrossed in sense gratification, ಕಾಮದಲಿನಿ ತಂದೆ ಕ್ರೋಧದಲಿನಿ ತಂದೆ ತಾಮಸ ದುರ್ಯೋನಿಯಲಿನಿ ತಂದೆ ತಂದೆ ನೀ ತಂದೆ ನಾ ಬಂದೆ ನಾ ನಿನ್ನ ಹಿಂದೆ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಜನ್ಮ ಹ್ಯಾಂಗಾದರಾಗಲಿ ಮುಂದೆನ್ನ ಸಲಹೋ ಪುರದರ ವಿಠಲ. I really like this song because this is the perfect answer about sattva, rajas, tamas. Yes, if I want to be in sattva, there is like a long list of activities. But if I want to belong to the Lord, then there is no requirement because I already belong to the Lord. I'm already the Father. I mean, He's already the Father. Okay, the song was speaking about in lust, in greed, in complete sense of absorption and being drowned in tamas. Still Krishna is my father. Even if I'm a worm in the stool, Krishna is my father. Like that. So we belong to Krishna no matter the modes. Sometimes we have a misunderstanding to think that if I am not in sattva, Krishna doesn't love me. We feel guilt and shame, and we rot in guilt and shame, which is very much tamas. But instead of rotting in guilt and shame, we can just go surrender to Krishna and say, Krishna, please take this ignorance, take this shame that I'm suffering from. And that can become a source of liberation. Mm. like that. I don't know. That point hit me that my Vamsha Jiva Loke, not only the Brahmins, but everybody comes from Krishna. And it's up to us to go back to Krishna, to turn to Krishna. He's there. Shelter is there. Govardhan Giri is lifted by Krishna. Giriraj is held up. But am I going under the hill or not? Am I taking shelter of Krishna or not? That's the free will. There's so much mercy available. The hill is up. There are classes, there are lectures, there are sanghas, there are devotees available to help us. Am I going under the shelter or not? Or am I wailing in my depression and licking my wounds and looking at the pains of this world as everything? Yeah, please continue this.
Yeah, so beautiful. I was also thinking like how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I'm not a Vipra, I'm not a Brahmana, I'm not any of this. I'm just a servant, a servant of the lotus feet of the gopis, right? That's the true
Sorry, say
identity.
that again. Say that
Chaitanya
again, please.
Mahaprabhu says, I don't know the Bengali one, maybe you know it. Nai Vipra, Nai Brahmana, like that. He goes on, right? I'm not a
Mm.
Brahmana. I'm not I'm not a Vipra. That means a learned person. I'm not any of these things. My true identity is I'm a
Viprakribanyasi.
servant
Yeah.
of the lotus feet of the
Jai
gopis.
Krishna.
So
Yeah, yeah.
so that's our true
Yeah.
identity, right? So it's like more than like, oh, I come from the head, Brahmana, oh, I come from the feet, oh, ultimately I come from the Lord. But beyond all these, upadhis, like, I'm recognizing myself as a Brahmana, I'm recognizing myself as, in the Varna and the Ashrama. More than all that, what is my true identity? So that's what it is.
Yeah, that's Lord Chaitanya actually. He said that. I think he said it in Bhagavad Gita. Kibanyasi, Kiba Vipra Kibanyasi Sadhu Kinanoy, Jai Krishna Tattva say Guru Hoy, like that. I mean, I may have misplaced a couple of words there, but the verse is Mahaprabhu saying that, not you don't have to be born as Brahmana, you don't have to be this, or you don't have to be that to become a guru, but somebody who knows the science of Krishna can become a guru, he says.
Yeah. That is also, yeah. That is one more saying. The one which I quoted was the other one. Another one which says like my two identities. I'm the servant of the gopis. That's one
Oh
more.
yeah,
But this also the
yeah.
same thing. But this also beautiful, whatever you quoted, because that also is like emphasizing that it's not the Varna ashram. It's like if you know Krishna consciousness, you can teach, you can become a guru. It's just so beautiful, right? Like the whole
Mm.
Varnashrama system in India is just based on if you're a Brahmana only, you can give classes like that. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like, see, just look at what he's looking at. He's looking at the quality. He's looking at you. He's looking at you
Mm.
inside, right? Wow.
And for the for the past some years now, since the lockdown time, etc., I've had this shift in the way I look at Krishna consciousness and the way I look at my anarthas specifically, and it has given me so much. I mean, I would say there has been much more attachment to Krishna in the last 2 3 years than a couple of decades of doing activities such as preaching and doing things which are very Krishna conscious externally, right? So my understanding has been this point again and again that wow, it's amazing how Krishna can lead us. Even the most tamasic people, like I've been part of some recovery groups and stuff, and I've seen the people who are not even devotees, karmis, taking up to God consciousness. Not even like they don't even know Krishna as a name, but so many miracles Krishna can do, even for somebody completely addicted to alcohol and drugs and sex and like addicted. I'm not just saying somebody who's like interested, but somebody that cannot control themselves in it. But God can make such miracles by just approaching Him and saying, Krishna, God, please help me, God. Please, God, I have this weakness. Help me. Like that, by just saying that, it's amazing how much power is there. in that humility, in that surrender. I'm experiencing that so much. I was humbled by associating with these people. um, because sometimes there's a tendency, within our organization to judge and put down people who are addicted, or people who are tamasic, or like that. We have a tendency to look down and think that, oh, Krishna will never manifest to these people. Who do I think I am to say that? Right? Krishna can manifest to anybody through anything. So I feel like socially there are some misunderstandings we have about what what is Krishna conscious and what's not, and we might be giving too much importance to um, externally of somebody appearing scholarly or sitting on the Vyasasan, maybe given more attention than somebody, a housewife in Gujarat, having 4 kids, and but she may be more advanced than this person who sits on the Vyasasan and travels the world, right? So yeah, maybe she may be in tamas in one sense, that she has to clean the butts of the kids and take care of the narcissistic husband or something, and too difficult to in-laws and things. So she may be in circumstances which are rajasic and tamasic, but we don't know the bhakti that she has in the heart, like that. I mean, I'm not saying specifically a woman, I'm just saying anybody, a person.
Yeah, so nice. I was thinking about this, when you were saying like in the last 2, 3 years, you feel like the connection with Krishna is like more stronger. I was just hearing that, for in the beginning, like our faith is based on Shastra, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So because the Guru is saying, and then we have some faith in the Shastras, we are doing it. But at one stage, one level will come, like how you're beautifully explaining. That level is like, spontaneously want to do it. So it's like before it's
Mm.
like Vaidhi sadhana. Now it like what you're doing is like more of like the raga naga. It's more like spontaneous. You want to do it because it's in your heart, you're feeling that, right? So that'll come when the person has reached that level, that qualification, or that adhikar has come. Because of that adhikar, you're feeling like that, like that connection with Krishna. And then like whatever you want to do, like the special activities, it's more spontaneous, not like it's being asked, that's what you're doing. It's just not like I want to follow it. It's more of like it's
Mm.
internal, the motivation.
I remember this like the thing we did. There was a like an exercise we did some years ago. You're supposed to say things like, I have to, like I have to change my rounds, I have to get up in the morning, I have to do this, I have to take my kids, I have to do this, all the I have to's, right? And then we are asked to notice the emotions. How do you feel when you say that? It feels like a burden, it feels like a chore, it feels boring, all those kind of emotions come up, right? We should do that exercise sometime, by the way. And then we change the statement and we say, I get to do Bhagavatam, I get to chant, I get to cook breakfast for my kids, I get to serve my in-laws. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, it depends on the in-laws. I get to do my austerities. When we use get to, how does it feel? The same situation, I get to go to the office. I get to go and deal with all the people in the office that are not very pleasant with me. Why? Because you know that Krishna is behind that. Krishna is there, and there's something for you between you and Krishna, something special happening, like that. Get to, I get an
When you said get
opportunity.
to, right? Well, yeah, exactly. When you were saying get to, I was feeling like, yes, this opportunity, I'm getting a chance, I'm getting a, opportunity to do it. But then there's another statement, beyond that, that is like, I want to do it. I love to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want
yeah,
to do it. I want to, it's like, I really want it,
yeah.
and I love to do it. Actually, like here in America, we have a store, what's it called? Cold Stone ice cream store, okay? They've got like 3 cups. One is, I got to have it. No, I like it, love it, And the last one is like, I got to have it. Like that's the biggest size. So I'm just thinking about your statements, you know. I like it. I love it. I really got to do it like that. That's the
Yeah,
biggest
I love that. Oh my God, it's perfect. It's perfect analogy. When you're saying it, I'm already thinking of like a cartoon making. I like it. I like Krishna consciousness. Oh, I love it. I got to do it. I don't. That's gopis, right? I got to
yeah,
do it.
see,
I what was that? How did you say? I, I,
I
what's the
got to
last
have
one?
it. I got to
Have it.
have it.
Yeah. That's the gopis running in the middle of the night hearing Krishna's flute, right?
Yeah, I got to go to Krishna like that, right? Obviously, they can't even control. They just run like, wow, yeah, wow. Next time I'm gonna see them, I'm gonna remember this, the gopis.
It's so cool.
Right.
Really
So,
nice.
yeah, the power of protection was generated from the Virat Rupa, along with the Kshatriyas, who protect society from thieves and miscreants. From his thighs manifested the power to produce and one second. Go downstairs. From the thighs manifested the power to produce and distribute grains, along with the Vaishyas, were responsible for creating a sustainable economy to provide for human society. Finally, the inclination to serve was manifested from the Virat Rupa's legs, along with the Shudras. All classes of people must develop the service attitude towards God, which is the soul's nature. It is better to be a Shudra with this mentality than a Brahmin without it, because only the service mood satisfies Krishna. This is like so beautiful, right? The mood of service, ultimately, like what we were discussing. And yeah, one more thing was
I like
coming.
this. It is better to be a Shudra
Mm,
than to be a Brahmin without
mm,
bhakti. Because what's the point of being a Brahmin if we are not actually giving the credit to Krishna and developing attachment? What's that verse? Samsiddhir haritoshanam, right? If
mm.
Krishna is not pleased, all the duties that we're performing is just a waste of time.
Shamaya Vai Kevalam.
Shamayeva hi kevalam. Thank you. Yeah. I
Yeah.
like that point. It's better to be a Shudra than to be. I mean, that's a switch. That's a switch. Better to be stuck in a material circumstance which reminds me of Krishna than to be in Mayapur Dham and very comfortable life. And I have, nobody's stopping me from going to Mangalarti. I have all material facilities, perform devotional service, but I actually don't have a service attitude. I'm thinking of myself. I'm thinking of enjoyment. But it's better to be stuck in some job somewhere and feel intense separation from Krishna and from the Dham and develop a mood of service attitude, and you're able to serve even for 5 minutes, or you're like that. It's much better than to be 24 hours in a holy place with great devotees, but with the nanu nannadu emba, like me and mine, and I'm great and I know, and these kind of things can actually be um, dangerous. So it's better to be in New York in the subway, I don't know, selling hand sanitizers than and remembering Krishna and feeling separation to Krishna and having a mood of service than to be in Vrindavan Dham, enjoying your senses or something, or thinking of, or not even enjoying senses, just sitting on the Vyasasan and thinking, I am so great, you see. People admire me, people follow me. There's nobody greater than me. Which one is better? You can judge for yourself.
Yeah, when you're saying that, no, I'm just remembering Manashiksha and that donkey's urine. I think this explanation, I was like amazed. The first and foremost is compared to urine, which is like not pure, it's impure. But also, it's like the donkey's urine is supposed to be hot. I believe it's very acidic, so it's very hot. So the whole idea is like, apart from it being impure, it's also very hot. Like so the whole it's like so obnoxious, right? So they're comparing this fame, not fame, yeah, fame and the desire for Pratishta, right? It is desire for
Yeah.
Pratishta as donkey's urine, Raghunath Goswami and Manashikshha. I was like, wow, I simply thought this is very impure. But then when I understood that it's also acidic, it's got that hot nature, I was like, why do we want to take a cooling bath in the holy names? We want to take a cooling bath in, like, offering our prayers to Krishna. That is so cooling and soothing, right? We will take a bath in the Ganges or in the Yamuna. It's so cooling. You look at this bath that we are aspiring to take, which is a hot
Mm.
donkey's urine. I was like, wow, I did not even think about it from that perspective. So that is very beautiful. Since you brought that, right, it just reminded me of this point.
Wow. Yeah, for the consciousness, it's the donkey urine. Gosh.
And we really want the soothing nectarian, cooling waters of the holy name to be like,
Right.
purifying that in the morning, right? The mercy of the holy name. Okay. Maitreya lifted his hands and then pointed at his legs. Since my hands and legs are a part of my body, their proper use is to serve me. Similarly, since all occupational roles in society, along with their respective duties, are born of the Lord's body, their duty is to serve Him. Anyone who desires to attain freedom from material bondage and realize his eternal spiritual existence must worship the Supreme Lord under the guidance of Krishna's representative, the spiritual master. Whether or not it is an agreement, he knew that even if people were not expert in their occupational duties, if they develop a mode of service to Krishna, they can perfect their lives exactly like what you are saying. Material expertise was not as important as spiritual sincerity. Wow, spiritual sincerity. Prabhupada was like, as you remembering, like one of the disciples was asking Srila Prabhupada, how can you become sincere? And Prabhupada said, you become sincere by just being sincere. So it's not
Mm.
like, like say, for example, I want to develop this quality of humility. And then you just, try to understand and, what is, at least externally we are trying to like Radhanath Maharaj was saying, externally at least you are trying to follow the etiquettes of the Vaishnava etiquettes of how to be humble and all. And then one day like you keep on faking it and then one day you'll make it. That's what Radhanath Maharaj said. But when it comes for this quality of sincerity, you cannot, there's no other step, there's no other thing of like becoming sincere. You become sincere by just being sincere. That's how it is. That's what Prabhupada said. So sincerity is like that kind of a quality where there are like no steps like A, B, C, and then you get sincerity. You just have to just be
Mm.
sincere like that. That's it. That's it. Perhaps you can
And
pray for it, but this is just one of those qualities. Very beautiful quality. Yes, Mataji.
mm, and this one, no, material expertise was not as important as spiritual sincerity. This is important for us, relevant for us, because sometimes we think somebody who may know more scriptures, no, it's actually a material expertise.
Mm,
Somebody who can sing very nicely, it's actually a material expertise. So there's a tendency to evaluate a person's skills of maybe they speak very nicely, they can narrate nice pastimes, or they can narrate shlokas very nicely, they can give a good class, or they can sing very beautifully, or they can perform this garland service in perfect way, or no, we sometimes they're all actually material expertise. That's not what Krishna is pleased with, but it's the attitude with which they perform that actually matters. So somebody may have not be having an amazing voice or amazing capacity to convince people of Krishna consciousness. They may not have that material skill, but if they have this spiritual sincerity, wow, that Bhagavatam verse, which speaks actually directly, it speaks about Prabhupada himself. Let me see if I remember. Do you know that verse, exact verse that describes Prabhupada, the imperfect thing, Shastra? It actually describes Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, I mean, 1:5:11.
Mm.
5:11.
Okay, it's a Srimad Bhagavatam 1:5:11. If somebody's on the computer, they can open that verse. 1:5:11, first canto, fifth chapter. that verse specifically, this is relevant to what we are discussing here. If somebody is on the computer, I can open it, or on a phone also. Doesn't matter. I can't switch screens because I'm screen sharing on my phone.
1 second, my daughter is putting it up.
What chapter?
1-5-11, First Canto, 5th chapter, verse number 11. Where the base?
What's number what?
11. Okay. Thank you. You put it inside the sauce. On the other hand, that literature, this Prabhupada always tells in every beginning of the Bhagavatam, the introductions of the thing, right? And on the other hand, that literature, which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a different creation, full of transcendental words, directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Shinvanti Gayanti Vidanti Satavaha. Yeah, that last line. My Maharaj always Shinvanti Gayanti. That should always be heard, heard and spoken, and then also realized in the heart, right?
Right. That causes Janadaga Viplavo. It causes a transformation in our heart. So it's not about information. And no other. I mean, who imperfectly composed? Rupa Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they were all like super scholars, and there's no question of imperfection when it comes to their contribution. And whereas you can because Srila Prabhupada had to preach in English, the books that he wrote in the beginning were kind of full of errors, in grammatical errors. I mean, like English errors, but the message was intact. So this verse actually is directly also speaking about Prabhupada, that it doesn't matter, how perfect English it is presented with. Like I was saying, doesn't matter your tone of singing and your it doesn't mean if somebody has an amazing voice, Krishna will be more pleased with them, or somebody has better skills to do something. It's more. So it's not that somebody who writes better English was better. No, Prabhupada is empowered. He's an instrument in the Lord's hands. So Krishna did amazing things through that instrument. So same thing for us. Sometimes we may think, I'm not qualified. But we don't need to be qualified. We only need to be an instrument. Being an instrument is the requirement, not our material qualification, not material expertise, but spiritual sincerity. Sometimes we are saying, oh no, Mataji, I don't sing well. Oh, I can't give a class. It's not actually humility. It's actually just fear of, my material expertise will be exposed, right? People will come to know my limitations, right? So it's more about, the focus is more me. I want to look good. I want to be, glorified for my work. But if I'm not so good, then people will not. So to even say I'm not qualified is also a way of focusing on material expertise, and not wanting to be an instrument in the Lord's hands, and not emphasizing the point that for the Lord to do some service through you, he doesn't need you to be materially an expert or a great scholar or great singer or whatever it is that Krishna wants us to do. He doesn't depend on our material expertise. So Krishna, Prabhupada,
actually, sorry.
I'm just concluding that Prabhupada's expertise was not English, and Krishna didn't depend on that. He was using Prabhupada as an instrument to do something bigger. Yeah, you say what you were saying, Taruni?
I was just two things. One is when that sincerity, how beautifully you said, when that sincerity is there and we try to become an instrument, right? Then empowerment comes. Empowerment is given to us. Krishna empowers that instrument, Some, basically probably like say that knife is not sharp, like, we are like that instrument. And this, giving a crude example, maybe we're not a sharp knife, but then when we actually want to become an instrument with Krishna, right, in Krishna's hands, he could just sharpen it, that means he can empower us. So like that. That's one thing. And secondly, like when you talked about singing, right? I just remembered Srila Prabhupada, no, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is one of the disciples, and he was like singing, and then and he was singing such a beautiful melodious voice, and everybody was like beautiful, like so enthralled like that. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, he was like sick that during that time, and he said, whoever is singing, ask him to stop it right now. And then everybody's like shocked. And then he said, make this other person, this person, he should sing. And then that person doesn't know much of like the raga and then all those things, like what do you say? He's not musically so much talented. But Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, he wanted this person to sing. So he said that previous one who was singing, he was so much into himself, like he's a great singer and everybody's enjoying. So he was in the mood of like, feeling that. But this person who did not have that, he was not musically gifted by Krishna, but he was singing the holy names just to, please his guru who was like very sick. This is like the Antya Leela types of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj. So this particular pastime, right? It's very touching. I've always felt very what do you say? It just tells us like when we are, if at all we get a chance to sing, or if at all we get a chance to lead a kirtan or whatever, like any of those small services, we should become like so conscious of like how we are affecting the consciousness of everybody who's hearing us, right? With what mood we have to sing, like that he was trying to instruct. That is Tantra.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful point. I want to share something personal, so I'm going to stop the live stream.